Before I go any farther, I want to ask another prayer. Father God, thank you for another opportunity to stand your pulpit. Lord, I ask as I'm here today, I'll not be a hindrance or stumbling block to anyone. I ask my words to be perfect, your way in the Lord. And I ask these things all in Jesus' name. Amen. Before I forget, I want to go ahead and give y'all some warnings. You can plan ahead and invite visitors in and anyway, we just have a big going zone. Dean has asked if he can bring a message next week. So Dean is going to be preaching for you next week. Y'all invite your friends. Past few weeks I've been talking a lot about battles, and that's what comes when you talk about the mighty men. Now I've really only talked about a few of them, and that's because it's really never about those men. The mighty men is about the God who they serve. It's the God who they have complete confidence and complete faith in. Their strength being renowned, but never being theirs, always being his. We talked about how in 1 Samuel, Israel fought a battle with the Philistines, and that God had not sent them to, and how they also took the Ark of the Covenant with them into battle on their own decision. We also talked about how the Ark was captured by the Philistines as they conquered Israel. This battle never being ordained by God, they suffered a great defeat. Then in 2 Samuel, I talked to you about how David and 4 others defeated that same Philistine army. We got to keep in mind the difference here. Those men fought the battle that God led them to fight, gave them to fight. He ordained them to fight that battle. They didn't go to a battle in a place that they weren't meant to be. And then we see the contradiction in that conquering army. We see God's presence here, and then we see God not ordaining a battle, and God not fighting a battle for them. Our God is mighty, and he's powerful. And he never loses a battle. He never loses a fight. Our God never does. We pick bad fights sometimes. We choose bad fights sometimes. He has from the beginning conquered everything in our lives and everything that needs conquering. You might say that some of these things haven't happened yet, because I know some of you are saying, well, you don't even know what's going to happen in my life next. And I'll say, that's ridiculous. You don't know my God if you think that. Because he knows what the battle is to come for you, and he has already fought that battle as well. And if you'll go to the battle that he gives to you, he will give you the battle. I'll say, God knew you from the womb. If you say he doesn't know what's coming next. He's already fought your upcoming battles. What you need to work on is fighting the battles that he gives to you and not taking on other battles. 1 John 4:4 says, "Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because there is greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." I read it to you from the King James Version that time. I think everybody should know these verses. Greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. If that can't sustain us through a terrible time, an awful battle, then we don't believe in the same God. I don't have a nicer way to say that to you, because I want you to put your head on my shoulder, and I want you to cry it out, and I want you to have that moment. I want you to have that moment of sympathy from a brother, from a sister in Christ. But I want you to stand up at the end of it and know that God fought that battle already. God has won that battle already. That his way and his will be had in that battle regardless of what's to come. Regardless of what you think or say, or regardless of what people around you might see. God's will is going to be had. He knows the future. He knows what's going to happen. He ordered those steps. And yes, we got freedom to make decisions, and we have freedom to choose badly. We have all these choices. But how can you believe God knows everything and not believe that he knows your bad choices too? God knows your bad choices, y'all. He knows where you're going to mess up at, and He has ordained a path. He's ordained a path. Now, our task should be to limit those bad choices. That should be for us. We limit those bad choices. You should know that He's in control, and you should be strengthened because of it. The mighty men became the stuff of legend because of the promise that God gave to them. And y'all don't know the promise I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's just the first one I came to. I can talk the rest of the day about the promises that He made to us that ensure the battles that we fight will be won in His way, in His time. You look them up. But suffice to say, God will never leave nor forsake you. And greater is He who is in us than he who is in the world. Our Bibles talk about people that aren't much different than ourselves. In so many ways, they're not much different than us. And the big difference comes when we see the faith that they had. And it's not fair to say we don't have that today, because I've been privileged to serve people who had a measure of faith that's inspired me in a lot of the same ways that the mighty men inspired. They knew something. I'm not sure the best way to learn this. Experience is a great teacher. That's a common saying. Our faith grows through experience. Experience teaches us. We see in the difference in 1 Samuel and in 2 Samuel that lessons are learned both ways. In 1 Samuel, when Israel did contrary to God's will for them, they had to pay a price. Likewise, in 2 Samuel, when they're in God's will, the battle was already won. I believe that David and those four fought the way they did because they knew that God had handed the Philistines over to them. All they needed to do was to continue until it was seen. I think that's the challenge for us, though. Can we continue in a battle? Can we continue in a battle that the world would say we can't win? Can we continue in a battle the world would say we can't win, knowing that they're right? Because we can't. But God already has. If we could come to faith like that, imagine the possibilities in your life, knowing that all we have to do is keep swinging the sword until God lets everyone else see the victory. But you know it all through the fight, that the fight was handled a long time ago before you ever undertook it. Your struggle, your worry, your health, your wealth, your happiness are all in His hands, and whatever comes, the victory is in His hand, and He'll hand it to you. You know, I talked to you about the mighty men again, and was impressed last week with how he swung the sword until it stuck to his hand, until his hand cleaved to that sword. We talked about how impressive that was, and yes, just the physical strength that God gave him, that was impressive. But understanding why he was able to keep swinging that sword. He didn't keep swinging that sword because he had some awesome supernatural power, some awesome supernatural Samsonite strength. You know, I don't know how strong he was. God likely gave him that, but I don't know that. He didn't say that. But I believe that he kept swinging that sword and was able to continue swinging that sword because he already knew the outcome. You know, he just had to keep going until it was seen. You know, he just had to continue going. How many of y'all have ever built something? I started tearing something down I built yesterday, but when you start building something, you get to a place where you can't stop. I mean, you got to see it through. And, you know, God's word is much the same. Not that we have to see it through, but much the same in that we know the outcome, or we should know the outcome. We should know that God is about to hand this to you. That God is about to complete that work that you began. You know, we should know that, yes, I'm starting the first few nails. Yes, I'm swinging the sword the first few times, but we should continue through because we know what the outcome's going to be. We've seen the plans of whatever that thing is that we might be building, or God has told us that the battle is going to be handed over to us. We should continue those things because God gave that to us to continue, and that God is faithful and just to see it through. You know, it's a lot easier to be strong when you know the outcome. Isn't it a lot more easy to be confident when you know the outcome? How many times have y'all been on a sports team where you were playing or your kids were playing against another team who you knew was not anywhere near good enough to be played with. Well, this other team didn't stand much of a chance of winning. You remember how lighthearted, how easy it was going into that game than it was going into that game with a team who's likely going to beat your brains in? Do you remember the difference in the attitude you had as you walked out somewhere with confidence that you were going to win this pretty handily? Can you remember that confidence? You remember that confidence? Also remember the lack of confidence you had when you were playing the Giants. Remember the lack of confidence that you had there, because you walked out into that not being sure of the outcome, worrying about the outcome, but you don't have that problem. None of you have that problem, because your God has already ordained your outcome. He's already said that I won't leave you or forsake you. He's already said that I give this to you. He's already said that. Y'all, he's already said so much. We forget so many things he said. We forget so many of those things. So as we undertake our struggles, as we undertake our worries, as we start a task that's way too big for us, and I keep just saying the same things all the time. I know I say the same things all the time. Why don't we listen? As we begin those things, why don't we understand that he is faithful and just to see it through? You know, why should I be afraid? Why should I think about this battle in any different way other than God has already handled it, and all I got to do is stay there until he hands the victory to me? All I got to do is continue on the path. As he swung that sword, I imagine him all but getting bored swinging that sword. It's just like, God's about to handle this. I know that's way oversimplified. I know the Bible don't say that. I know that. But I see that battle raging on all day, all day, all day. I see hour after hour after hour after man after man after man. And this one man, these four other men, just withstood it. Just withstood it. That's not reasonable in our thinking. That is not reasonable that they should have defeated the army, that they could have been able to defeat the army. That's not reasonable. But that thought never entered into their minds. It never entered into their minds. They undertook the battle God gave them, and they fought it like the stuff of legend. Of legend. But we know it's a lot more than legend. We know it's a lot different than legend. We know some more about it. I'm a real big fan of a book that I've given some of you to read called 12 Ordinary Men. Those were the disciples, 12 ordinary men, y'all. We still read the words that they penned through God's inspiration. We still read those words today. We still read and we still hear about these mighty men. We still hear about Jonah and this whale. We still do that thing. And the reason is because we are them. We are them. No, there's nothing that special about any of those people. I think that's why God picked the people he picked as disciples to show us that I can take the worst of you and the worst in you, and I can use it for good. I can take the weakest of you and I can make the most out of you. I can take 5 men and defeat an army that just a little while before you let take my ark from you. I can take 5 faithful men. I can march a battle. I can march an army around the city of Jericho. I can march an army around that city and the walls will fall just because I said to. I can have you put your feet in the water and the river will stop. I can tell you it'll be daylight all day and it'll be day all day. I can tell you that it's going to be night and it'll be night. I can tell you that I'm going to hand this battle to you. I can tell you that it's going to be okay. I can tell you that you don't have to worry about your money. I can tell you that you don't have to worry about your job. I can tell you that you don't have to worry about that labor. I can tell you that you don't have to worry about what you're lacking in your own abilities. I can tell you all that in full and complete confidence because I know the God who can take care of all those things. Then if I stood up here and listed all my inadequacies, all the things that I can't do, all the things that I'm not good at, all the things that I shouldn't, if I could stand up here and tell you how many reasons I couldn't or shouldn't be standing in front of you as pastor, if I could tell it to you, I'd spend the rest of my time doing that. But one thing changes everything. It's the fact that he said I can. He said I can, and that changes everything. It changes everything. No more am I lacking in any category. No more am I lacking in any of that. Just the opposite. said, I'm going to take how sorry you are. I'm going to take how weak you are. I'm going to take how bad you are at this thing, and I'm going to bless what you touch. I'm going to order what you're touching. I'm going to make it right. I'm going to have my will. I'm going to be glorified because you are who you are, and I'll be seen in that. Again, ordinary man, ordinary. Ordinary. Why don't you just expect that God's going to do it for you? It's hard, I know, because it was hard for me. The first time I just said, all right, I'll do it. It was hard. How many things have been hard for you? How many times have you looked at what's going on and said, it's just too hard? How many times have you said, I can't do it anymore? How many times has that happened to you? How many times have you said, Lord, I can't? And the Lord said, well, I know you can't. How many times have you wanted to do something and didn't do it because you were afraid, because the enemy had won that battle? How many times has that happened to you and around you? How many times? How many times have you received the glory and the blessing of being obedient and seen somebody or something handled over, some situation or circumstance handed over to you just because you were faithful? Just because you were faithful. How many times have you seen something work out just like God said it should because you were faithful to go and do it? How many times? If you're faithful, you should have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's because you're not looking for it. All these blessings that you think you received because you're doing the right things, only if the right thing you're doing is following God's will. The job you have, the house you have, the home you have, the family you have, the blessings that you have are because He is who He is, not because you are who you are. He will give to you according to His riches. He will give to you for His glory. He will do all those things for you, and you get to be the beneficiary of those things working right. I get to be the beneficiary of these things going well in my life. I get to be the beneficiary of that. I get to live a good life. I get to be a blessed man. I get to be a blessed man just because I'll listen to Him. Just because I listen to Him. I don't deserve none of it. Don't deserve none of it. And not strong enough for none of it. Those men, those mighty men, were the same way. They didn't deserve any of it. They weren't strong enough. They weren't smart enough. We talk all the time about how David was this ruddy little redhead boy and nobody thought nothing special out of him. Then God said, this is a man after my own heart. And God blessed the whole world through him. The whole world God blessed through him. That's what we have though. That's what we have. The battle is won. I don't know how God's going to win it. I don't know that thing that He's going to straighten, order. I don't know what He's going to do to give you a victory, but I know you'll have a victory. It might not be the victory you think, the one you want, the one you've asked for. It might not even be that victory. So don't get caught up on that. Don't get caught up so much on, Lord, I've been praying for you to do this right here, and you didn't do that. You get that? Lord, what's the best part about going to the mountains? Is it when you get there? Or is it the drive there when you see all the things new? When you see the winding road and you look over the side and you say, whoo. It's not all about where you're going. It's not all about when you get. It's about the journey, and you miss all the good and great things that you had on the way. You miss all those things if you're so caught up in the end results. Now, I pray that God blesses me physically. I pray that God heals me physically. I pray that God keeps me strong and upright. I pray that God allows me to do this right here for a long time. I pray that He does that. But if He don't, if this is my last time, I did my best for you today. If He don't, I'm still going to praise His name. If I have to go from here to the hospital and lay in a bed, I'm going to be thankful that God gave me what He gave to me. And I will believe that the victory He's given me is just one I don't understand yet. It's just what I don't understand yet. God will have His way. His name will be glorified, and it'll be for my good. It'll be for my good. It is every time. He's never failed in that respect. He's never came to a place where He let me down. I've never come to a place where I say, I don't believe you, God. I don't think you can handle it, God. I've never come to that place because He keeps over and over and over showing me that He can, He will, and He does. So what am I expecting today? I'm expecting to keep swinging my sword as long as I can swing it. I'm expecting to keep fighting the battle until He hands it over to me the way He says. And not the way I say, but the way He says. And I will have faith that what comes is going to be just that. It's going to be His way. It's going to be what he ordained, not what I thought I should have, not what I thought would bring me great happiness, not what I thought, but what he did. When we get to that place, our world will change, our life will change, your strength will change. They'll be talking about Miss Helen, the mighty woman. They'll be talking about Tanner, a mighty young man. Talking about what's to come for you. They'll be talking about what you've done and what you're going to do. That's what it'll be talking about. It won't be about your circumstances. It won't be about those things that held you down. It'll be about how you stood over the top of it. It'll be about how you went on through the middle of it. It'll be about how nothing stopped you. In the end, you're going to leave this world. You're going to leave this world, and you or somebody else is going to offer up a prayer saying, heal them, Lord. Don't take them, Lord. And I'm going to tell you, the saints wouldn't be where the saints are if that were the case. The saints wouldn't be in heaven. Lord, let me stay here as long as you want me here. Lord, let me be useful as long as you got use for me. Lord, do that. But Lord, your will. Give to me what you know is right, because I don't know what's right. Yes, I don't know what's right, but he does. And I believe that, and I'm going to continue to believe that, because I got the evidence to show it. I'm going to ask our musicians to come forward. I'll tell you, we're going to have a hymn of invitation. And I know we got saved folks in here. And I know we got folks in here that might not be saved. I know we got folks in here that's looking or wondering. I know he's got hold of my cord too. I know these things just because there's so many people here, it's not possible for it not to be the case. I'm going to tell you, if you're saved, praise God, get on board. Swing your sword till he hands you the victory. If you're not saved, know this God that I'm telling you about. If you're worried and you got woes, give them to this God who you believe will hand you a victory, because I believe he'll hand you a victory. And the first time he does it for you, you'll be strengthened a little more. And we call that faith. There ain't nothing faithful people can accomplish. Nothing. Nothing. All right, as we sing, saved, unsaved, lost, worried, weak, whatever, come to this place. Come down here. As we sing, y'all do business with you. We got a lot more words, y'all. We got a lot more words. I struggle with why Christian people don't believe the battle's already been won. I struggle with why we don't understand that we don't have to struggle. You know, I wonder why, saying we believe in a God, why we not stronger. I wonder why, believing in Almighty, that we believe there are things that we can't accomplish. I struggle with these things. I got a lot more to say about it. I don't know what God's got for you to do, but I know he didn't intend for you to do nothing. I know he didn't intend for you to be some animal in a zoo just to sit and have folks come by and look at. I know that he didn't mean for you just to entertain the people around you. I know that that's not what he wants. I know that he's got a plan in your life. I know that you have purpose in your life. I know that if you can't walk, you can't move, then you can pray. I know that somebody can use telephones. I know that your feet work. I know you can go. I know that as Dean prepares to go and knock on these doors, that we ought to have a caravan of people going to do that. You ought to be so anxious to tell people about your God. You ought to be. If you're not, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. I say that, but I do know what to do with that, because I stand before you every time I have opportunity. I stand before you and I tell you these things. Jeff will tell you there's 5 messages in the Bible. They just come from different positions, different ways of looking at it. There's 5 messages in the Bible. And I stand before you Sunday after Sunday after Sunday after Sunday and tell you these messages and tell you these things. How awesome it would be to work myself out of a job. Man, I'd love to work myself out of a job. Y'all are mighty because your God is mighty. And these people around us need that. They need you. People that are in the schools, you see that in these children coming in and the struggles, the unreasonable struggles that they have. The struggles they have in their homes, the struggles that teachers have in their classroom because things are just not like they're supposed to be. I want to tell you, you got supernatural power on your side. You have God on your side, and none of those things can stop you. The only thing that can stop you is your willingness to stay home. Is your willingness to not do anything. We're willing to do that. That's a willingness we have. We're willing to let it go on to somebody else, but not anymore. Not anymore. Pick your sword up. Get busy about his business. Get busy about his kingdom. Don't hand your family over. Don't hand them over. Don't hand them over. But understand that that battle, like every other battle, is his. It's his battle. All hearts clear. We going out there, they need you at home. We need you right here. We need all those things. You know how strong our army is? It's as strong as each one of you are. If you ain't strong, we ain't strong. I'm going to be strong. I know a lot of you are going to be strong. And I pray that you understand it ain't because I'm strong. It's just because I believe in somebody else who is. My God will order those steps. My God will do it. He's done it for me, and I know He'll do it for you. As we go out there, rely on that. They're waiting. I'd love to hear the stories about your victories. I'd love to hear the stories of what these mighty men and women did. I'd love to hear those stories talked about in this neighborhood as years pass. Love to hear those stories. All right, I got to go or we can make the Sunday school. The Lord loves you, y'all. I do too. I can't offer you what He has, though. Claim it. Claim it. All right, as we go. Alan, you close us in prayer.
Father, again, thanks for a chance to go to your house, Lord. Thank you for normal people. When they're faithful, Lord, anything is possible for you. Lord, it says that when we leave this building, and we take that with us, we show others that anything is possible. And just thank you,